another super Friday. Welcome to PM Personality Profile. My guest tonight has been very instrumental throughout the COVID period. He is a consultant obstetrician gynecologist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Medical School. Dr. Titus Kofi Beyuo, currently General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. I am pleased to see you, and I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation. How are you doing?
I'm good, and happy to be on your show, and thank you for having me.
I see that you and your colleagues are really worried about the high attrition of doctors to Western countries. But what could be accounting for this?
Yeah, so it's really a source of concern for us in the medical fraternity. It's not only doctors. It's in fact healthcare workers in general, but chiefly the nurses and the doctors. And at this post-pandemic era, it looks like there are a lot of pull factors from the Western world because there were mass resignations, people left their jobs, and they are struggling to meet their human resource requirements. And therefore they have altered their immigration rules, and it's become more easy for doctors and nurses to leave our country to their country. Coupled with our worsening economy, as we can all see, our country is in crisis, and in times like this, people will want to play by the market forces, and that may be explaining why we are getting a lot of people leaving.
How dangerous is this?
It's dangerous in the sense that our pool of doctors already aren't a lot, and we have challenge with their distribution, and therefore with a lot of doctors exiting the country, it means the pool available for distribution becomes less. When it comes to the nurses, even more dangerous, because in the case of the nurses, it's our very highly specialized nurses who are leaving. These countries come with a shopping list. They want specialist nurses, critical care nurses, and then we ship them out, which means that we would always be left with new people who have to learn on us and all of that. It's not really good.
Done,
then they leave us.
Oh,
so that is really terrible.
That really will be terrible.
Yeah.
Of course, the regional distribution, you have said that about 81% is in just 5 regions, which you say is also not appropriate. Why are we having such difficulty?
So the reasons are not difficult to find at all. As you will notice, doctors, like other healthcare workers, but especially doctors, are highly trained, highly skilled professionals in high demand. And by the time you finish that level of education, market forces are at play. So when you are sent to a rural area where you cannot get proper accommodation, poor telephone network, poor road network, then it's very challenging. So a lot of people will rather not go. So they are posted and they refuse and they stay in Accra. When they stay in Accra, they'll be absorbed into private hospitals, the teaching hospitals. And the trend we are beginning to see is that the regions that have medical schools in them and teaching hospitals in them appear to have a lot more of the doctors. So one call has been, can we move towards a situation where we try to have medical schools, or at least satellite campuses of medical schools in each of the regions? Then we can have a higher distribution of doctors there. But whenever a doctor takes posting to a rural area, it's a very expensive process for the doctor. You have to necessarily keep 2 homes because your kids cannot school in that village. So you have to put them in the city, maybe with your spouse, and then you are there and coming. That's a lot of cost. Exactly. Despite all the risk of traveling on our roads. So one thing that we have proposed as a solution is that doctors who take posting to these areas must be given a special location-specific incentive allowance. So if you are in a very deprived area, like in my home district, in Lambuse district, the whole district, there's only one medical doctor. So that doctor should not be earning the same as his colleagues in the regional capital or in Accra here. He doesn't have any chance to do any private practice. Every time of his is consumed by the hospital, and he has to keep his family in the capital city.
Okay.
So it's challenging.
So what should government do? I mean, especially with the doctors and nurses who are leaving the country, and also ensuring that in our own country we have a fair distribution.
Okay. So first, government needs to recognize that the doctor has choices to make.
Okay.
It's not as though they don't have choices. So the old mentality of we have trained you, so we post you and you must go, doesn't wash
Anymore.
Yeah, because the doctor is not the only person who has been trained with the taxpayer's salary, taxes. It's the same thing with the distribution of lawyers. It's the same thing with the distribution of accountants. So if you realize that these people are needed, you have to find a way of attracting them and retaining them. That is where allowances come in, accommodation come in, things that will let them stay and work at these places. We have talked about earlier promotion when they work for government. If it takes 3 years to be promoted to the next level, they can be promoted in a year or two to incentivize people to go. Scholarships for further education, because when you are in the hinterland, you are virtually cut off, and sometimes the doctors feel they are forgotten completely. So somebody goes there and tells one horrible story, and nobody's willing to go again. So if government tackles these things in a package, I think it will help us get doctors to these areas. And as for the mass exodus of doctors and nurses, the only way out is to try and improve upon our conditions of service.
Okay.
It's a market, it's a global market, and you cannot say that we should keep sacrificing. Some are willing to sacrifice, others may not be willing to sacrifice. And even when you want to sacrifice, you have to look at it in terms of your family, your immediate family, your extended family, your own financial situation, and ask yourself, is it worth the sacrifice? That I stay here, take meager salaries, I cannot make ends meet, I cannot support my family in terms of emergency, when with that same set of skills in another country, I'll be earning much more. During our recent ended conference, it was funny when they made an analysis. A doctor not as specialized as my level in the US, his or her monthly salary is my annual salary times 2.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And that is what it means.
Okay.
So if that is it, and really we sat in the same classrooms, the same exam you wrote to go there, I wrote it, and I can go. What should let me stay?
Talking about remuneration, and definitely at your conference, you suggested to government to think about pegging your salary in dollars. But government is broke. Are you not? Don't you feel for government?
Okay, we feel for government as much as we feel for ourselves. Government is broke, that is a fact. Our country is broke, that is a fact. Well, we haven't asked that they should peg it in dollars yet, but we said government should fix the economy. Because one staggering statistic for us is that when I joined the service more than 10 years ago as a house officer, that's my entry point, how much I was taking in dollar terms as of today is less than how much I'm taking as a consultant, which means that instead of my salary going up, real value is depreciating. So government has to fix the economy, and if they fix the economy, I'm sure this will be solved. But when you say government is broke, it's very difficult for the ordinary person to understand, because if government is broke, government must demonstrate that they are broke. And how do they demonstrate that? Cut down the size of government. Let us see a reduction in the ministers, deputy ministers, special advisors, and all those people who are there. Reduce the number of presidential staffers, and come and tell us that this is what I have done because we are in a difficult time, and ask us as a people to join and see if we will not. But if you are asking us to tighten our belt and you are loosening yours because it can no longer fit, then that is quite challenging.
Well, let's hope that something drastic happens so we can retain our doctors here, because already we need more of you.
Exactly.
We cannot afford to let you go. But I'm much interested also in your research interest. It is something that actually fascinates me. You are interested in obstetric pharmacology, hypertension and diabetes in pregnancy. What has your research uncovered?
Well, so I would say the highlight of my research, and I think that is something that excites any researcher, is that I have, in a large clinical trial that I did with a team recently and published, have been able to discover a new treatment protocol for hypertensive disorders in pregnancy. People with preeclampsia. This is the leading cause of maternal death in our country now in the teaching hospitals. It is competing with hemorrhage. And so we have been able to come up with a new treatment protocol that reduces the number of duration women take a particular injection we call magnesium sulfate. And my colleagues were so generous to recognize my contribution that the protocol is named the Beyuo regimen.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so it's in the literature now that there's a Beyuo regimen that reduces the duration by which women take this injection. It's a very painful injection, but it prevents women from having convulsions when they have preeclampsia and eclampsia. It prevents further convulsions from occurring. And we used to have an old treatment where they take very painful injections, and this has reduced it. When it comes to the area of diabetes, I also did a trial on a drug called metformin. Prior to the trial in this country, metformin was not really being used for pregnant women. We needed data to back it. So I did the first trial on it. Not a very big trial like the hypertensive disorders one, but based on that trial and other data from other parts of the world, our colleagues have come to accept that pregnant women can use metformin. So now when you are pregnant and you have diabetes, you are not subjected to insulin injections. Hitherto, any pregnant woman who developed diabetes, you have to go take injections throughout of the pregnancy.
And that wasn't healthy.
It wasn't comfortable at all.
So diabetes and hypertension, just like you said, the major causes of death in Ghana, aside it being hereditary, it can be prevented, right?
Yes, especially the diabetes bit. The hypertension, yes, is the leading cause of maternal mortality in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, in most of our teaching hospitals, and it's overtaking hemorrhage. Diabetes can be prevented to a large extent. There are familial factors where if your father is diabetic, your mother is diabetic, your father is hypertensive, your mother is hypertensive, your risk of getting it is very high. The same thing for hypertension. But the diabetes, lifestyle also plays a significant role. That is where people need to be educated and to take control. If you gain weight excessively, for instance, data has shown us that any woman who weighs more than 90 kilograms, absolute weight more than 90 kilograms during any time in the course of the pregnancy, stands a high risk of developing diabetes in pregnancy. Yes. So if your pre-pregnancy weight is already high, then you know that you cross 90 very easily, and then your risk of developing diabetes becomes high. Diabetes is dangerous to mother, but even more dangerous to the baby. It causes a lot of congenital anomalies. Baby may be born with a small head, a very big head filled with only water, various deformities. They may have problems in their swallowing system. They may have several problems from head to toe. It can cause sudden death of the baby. So you can see a pregnant woman walking around and all of a sudden the baby is dead in her without her knowing. Diabetes is a chief culprit for that. But
of course you talked about lifestyle and the fact that if we're able to control our lifestyle, then we can also control diabetes. How do we do that?
So eating healthy, a good mix of vegetables, fruits, less of carbohydrates, but don't starve yourself as a pregnant woman.
So diabetes means that you have a lot of sugar in your system? What does it mean?
Yeah, so diabetes simply means that you have a state, we will say a chronic state, a state of a high sugar level. All of us have sugar in our system, but when you eat carbohydrate and a lot of our food, the end product is that it comes down to sugar in your blood. But your body must be able to take that sugar out of your blood so it doesn't stay there for long. So diabetes simply means that the pregnant woman, when it occurs in pregnancy, has a high level of sugar in her blood, and that is persistent, and it shouldn't be so. And that high level of sugar itself can kill the baby. It can cause all the anomalies I've talked about. It can cause the woman to gain weight. It can cause all the problems we are dealing with. So the main problem is that the sugar level is high and it's persistently high.
And what causes that? Does it mean that you're eating too much sugar?
No, not necessarily. Too much carbohydrates, lack of physical activity. If you don't exercise, you are not active. And then other factors are hereditary, like we talk about. If it's in your family, your chance of getting it is also a bit high. And for some people, an important hormone we call insulin, they lack it or they have a high resistance to it.
Okay.
Some pregnancies also increase the risk, like if you are carrying twin pregnancy or pregnancy in which the placenta, the afterbirth, what links baby to mom, if it's very big, it can also increase the risk of developing diabetes. So there are a few things that can increase the risk.
Dr. Titus Kofi Beyuo, he's General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. He's my guest tonight. Remember, he has a very interesting story growing up, and he's participated in the famous National Maths and Science Quiz and has been part of the winning team for his school. Himself, he's won so many awards for his intelligence and hard work. When I return from this break, he will be telling us about the fond memories growing up. He'll be sharing with us his days in secondary school and also at the medical school, and how he became a vegetarian because of financial constraints. Stay with me, I'm coming right back. Welcome back to PM Personality Profile. My guest told Dr. Titus Kofi Beyuo, General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. Doc, I know you grew up in the Lambuse area, but in the Upper West region, right?
Yes.
Where, to be precise?
So in a village called Kucha.
Kucha.
It's a little village in the Lambuse district, in the Upper West region. We are not too far from the Ghana's border with Burkina Faso.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that where you were born?
Yes.
And you grew up there?
Yeah, I grew up there up to a certain point. Okay. In fact, the story around my birth it's not too clear because my parents have never been to school. Okay. So we have to get all our information from the church. So in those days when they give birth to you, they'll go to the church and then register it. So when you go to the church, they give you your birth record. So I'm not sure whether I was born on the farm, in the hospital, I'm not sure. But I do know my date of birth. And I grew up in that village for a while until sometime I migrated to Tamale.
Your parents are both of them from Lambuse?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both from Lambuse.
Through and through?
Through and through.
Okay.
They are both of the Dagari tribe, and they were peasant farmers. So I'm the last of 9 children. Okay. Yeah, and my parents, like I said, never been to school, didn't really see too much the value of school, but they tried to give us school. Okay. So we are the first generation to go to school, and of all my siblings, they gave everybody an opportunity, but only the very first and me, the very last, took up the opportunity. Yes.
But you said that your access to education was seasonal.
Yes.
How was that?
Yeah, it is something that you can only understand if you are in that neighborhood. So we had a practice where each is a typical farming society. So each family kept their own cattle and sheep. Okay. So my father also had some. And during the rainy season, you would act as a cowboy or a herdsboy, where you go take care of the cattle so that they don't go into people's farms. So during the rainy season, you don't go to school. Okay. Then during the dry season, the animals are allowed to do free range. Then you are allowed to go to school. Okay. So I was on, off in Kucha Primary School. I was not even sure exactly what class I was in because you go play around, come back until my elder brother came for me and took me to Pong Tamale. Okay. That's when I actually had proper formal education where the school was uninterrupted. Okay. Yeah.
But in Kocha, what were your fond memories in Kocha?
Wow. So most of them will be farm related. They will be my cattle rearing related. Okay. But I think the most significant one of them is that I was so eloquent and loud as a child that my father's elder brother, they used to call me his radio. Okay. The man used to have a portable radio, so whenever he didn't have the radio, he would put me at the back of his bicycle and will chat up with me. So when he's driving, you can hear me conversing very loud with him. And he was polygamous. Okay. And then I remember anytime he had quarrels with their wives and then they starve him of food, he would call that they should bring me. And when they bring me, he would ask me, before all the wives, that if a man is having quarrels with the wife, what could be the cause? And then I respond that it is hunger. So this man would then clear his throat and tell the women, have you seen such wisdom in a small child? He is telling you something. So I think that's what I remember growing up then.
All right, so in Pontamale, you say that you were older than your classmates when you finally had to go to proper school. At what age was that, and in which class did you start?
So when I got to Pontamale, I started in class 2, but I was older. I was like almost 10, and I was going to class 2. And because the earlier schooling in Kocha wasn't much, my elder brother kept me home and schooled me for a while before sending me to school. And as fate will have it, I started as class, like class 2, older than everybody. But I was quite brilliant. I picked up very quickly. I was among the top in the class. They jumped me a few times, and I was there up to primary 5. And then I relocated to Accra because my brother went on a transfer. Yeah, and then I think in Pontamale, maybe the only thing I remember apart from this school was that we didn't have access to a lot of things like television and stuff like that, and we used to go watch TV through somebody's window, a black and white TV, and you have to bath and make sure you are not smelling, because sometimes when we are there watching, the daughter of this woman, sometimes we have to go fetch water for her before we are allowed to watch the TV through the window.
Goodness.
Yes. And whilst we are watching, the daughter can just say, "Mommy, they are smelling," or they are making noise, and then just draw the curtain. And this was when they were playing a lot of football. I think that was Starlets 91 and Senegal 92. We went to watch these games through a black and white TV, and these were the obstacles we had. But that was Pontamale.
So you said that your most difficult moments growing up actually was at class 6.
Yes.
And that was when you were in Accra.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, when I came to Accra, it was tough. So I relocated to Accra after my brother had been here for a while. And when I got here, they sent me to Martyrs of Uganda Basic School. When I got to Martyrs of Uganda Basic School, I had to fit into the class. Academic-wise, I had no challenges at all. But then the other aspect, finances, was a huge challenge. My brother would normally give me money, but it won't be enough. And he traveled a lot. He was a researcher. And so sometimes he would be gone for like weeks. So I had to start doing manual jobs. So I learned how to do shoe shine. I sold ice water. At the time, the ice water, we're selling it in cups. And then later, we did what we call the penny before it came to this pure water. So I did all of this, and I had to walk from Kolegono to Makola.
Goodness.
Yeah, to do my sales and come back, because you cannot afford to use the money to take care. You know, and weekends, I would work on somebody's piggery just to make ends meet. I'll go clean up the piggery, and then the guy will give me some money. Tuesdays, sometimes I miss school because there is a market, a popular market by us called Tuesday Market. So I used to push track. So you go there and you cut bags of maize for women who are making kenke. So you cut it to the grinding mill, and then they'll mill it for them. And in return, they would give you kenke, or they'll give you the water and the kenke, which the guys call tishinu.
Tishinu, yeah.
Yes. So those were what I was doing just to survive. So this occurred throughout from class 6 throughout to JSS 3 and even to SS. And every day that threat that I may drop out of school was very much in my mind, that I'll just leave because of school fees one day or the other. So those days were quite tough.
Were you ever sacked from school?
For fees, no. In secondary school, almost. But I used a few things to cover up. Because in secondary school, I was the school prefect, the head prefect. Even in Martyrs of Uganda, I was a head prefect when we were in JSS. And normally when they are calling names of people who are owing fees and then they see your name, it's embarrassing to call the head prefect before everybody. So the headmaster will just announce that, SP, after this, come and see me. And then you go to the office and you talk it over.
At what point did you have to lie to your friends and the KK seller that you were vegetarian?
Yes. Oh, that one. I had to. You know, I mean, if you've grown up in a typical Ghana community, you would understand that. When the Ghana women sell kinky, if you don't buy fish, they don't give you the black pepper. And sometimes they actually make it sad that the person selling the kinky is different from the person selling the fish. So the kinky person can give you the red pepper, but you won't get a black pepper.
Okay.
So to be able to get the black pepper, I told them, no, I don't take fish. I don't take any form of meat. And then, so then they will give my KK and add the black pepper. And in school, and I used to usually go and give the KK women money ahead of time, because when I'm able to sell water and I made money, I can pay for a bowl of KK per day for
2 weeks.
Like 2 weeks. So I give it to the woman ahead, so that I know that at least every day I'll get one bowl of KK to survive.
Without fish.
Without fish. And then my colleagues soon caught up and understood that, oh, Titus is a vegetarian, so he doesn't take fish, doesn't take meat. Yeah, but I knew that it was more deeper than that. So that was that bit.
So are you a vegetarian now?
Oh no. Thankfully my wife stopped me. I think I should actually go back to it. There are a lot of health benefits. But when I've made attempt a few times and I failed, because my wife would deliberately serve a lot of sumptuous meals with meat and they'll be eating and say, oh, since you say you're a vegetarian. And I end up taking it, you know.
Oh my goodness. But at some point, you've been wondering how God brought divine favor, if you like, into your life.
Yeah, God has been so good to me. And I'll summarize it for you. When I was talking about this kinky thing, there was a time my elder brother gave me money for a whole month and traveled. The money got finished and he did not return. And I went working, I didn't get enough money. And you know, those days when it rains, you don't sell water much. It's only in the dry season, the people are tested that you sell water. So I went, I didn't get water to sell. So I came back and it was a Monday and I had to go to school with no money.
Wow.
I was not sure what was going to happen. So while I was going, there is a cluster of schools called Polygonal Cluster of Schools, KG. I tripped on a stone. And you know how in these schools they use stones to demarcate areas. Sometimes they use them to mark out like a hedge. So I tripped on one of those and I hurt my leg a bit. But then I saw underneath money. And the money was just enough to buy me kinky.
One ball of kinky.
One ball of kinky. So I took it. I was very happy. And I went to give it to the woman. And I got kinky that day, that Monday. And I took it and I was fine.
Monday sorted.
Sorted. Came back home Tuesday. I said, well, let me just pass by the same place and see, just in case somebody's saving money there. I lifted the same stone and found the same amount of money.
Wow.
This continued for 5 days up to Friday. I was like, could it be that somebody is saving money here? But if somebody is, would you want to put money there when you come and you don't see the previous monies you have put there?
Yeah. Well,
I was enjoying it. And then on the weekend, my elder brother came and he gave me money. Monday, I went there greedy as any human being would be to see if I could get double. When I checked, there was none.
There was no money.
There was no money. I mean, it baffled me. I was like, really? God really is at play in this world. And it's happening in several ways because, you know, I was a driver's mate at some point where I worked on a cargo truck where we took things outside of this country to Mali, to Niger, to Burkina. And within Accra here, we distributed charcoal, yam, and I saw people who die in accidents, you know, and you go through all of this and survive. Then realize that God is good. And as I mentioned, I started school very late, but I caught up. I caught up so well in secondary school out of the fear of not completing. I actually wrote O-levels whilst we were supposed to be doing SSC. I wrote O-level in Form 1 so that just in case I'm sacked for fees, I can use that to go some. Yes. And then I did quite well in the O-level. So I planned to write A-level and then they stopped A-level and introduced private WASI. So I wrote SSC, private SSC in Form 2. And that's what I took to the medical school.
Wow.
Not my final year exam.
Results.
Yeah. So by the time I was in final year, I had passed. When we were writing the exam, I had already gained admission to Legon.
Wow.
So and my last year in the secondary school was fun. I mean, being in school and knowing that you have already passed, you are in university.
Oh, you do whatever you
and
like.
you are school prefects. Oh, it was interesting, you know. Yeah, I could call people to come and sing for me, to come and tell me stories when people are reading. Yeah, I had fun.
Talking about secondary school, let's talk about Pope Jones. How was the experience in Pope Jones?
So it was interesting and mixed. I began as a seminarian.
Okay.
I was hopeful of becoming a Catholic priest.
Wow.
Yeah, at some point.
Wow.
So my friends keep asking me that, when did the call become a missed call?
What happened?
I'm not sure.
Did your battery go low?
I'm not sure. So I was in the seminary, but I've been interested in student leadership and politics all my life.
Okay.
So throughout, I've been class leader. I was head prefect at the basic school in Matters of Uganda. I was head prefect at the Matters of Uganda JSS. And in Pope John, when I was in Form 1, I had ambition of contesting for the senior prefect.
Okay.
It was never possible to win that if you were in the seminary.
Okay.
We are minority,
and
the seminarians are strict, and people don't like us.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are too. So
is that why you dumped the?
Oh no! So I changed houses and I moved on to the other side, the regular school, so that I could contest and win the election. And I actually won. I contested against Honorable Kojo Ponkroma.
Okay.
Yes, I won, and then he became my first assistant. But all that while, I was still ambitious that I'll become a priest. But then I had a chat with my mentor then, who was a Catholic priest, that I wanted to be a medical doctor. I also wanted to be a priest. And he said, no, go to medical school first. If you are done and you still really want to be a priest, then this is a genuine call. Then you can come back.
Are you sure it wasn't because you wanted to have yourself a woman and all that? Because
no.
As a seminarian,
no. At the point, I was I was very determined. But when I got medical school. In fact, when I got to Legon, the whole thing just vanished.
Okay. But I know that you are intelligent, of course. How you rose through, so you even caught up because you were far behind, but you were able to catch up and all of that. But once a boy, always a boy.
Yeah.
In secondary school, what kind of a student were you?
So, well, like a normal student, I played football for the school. I did debate for the school. I did quiz for the school, the National Science and Maths quiz. I played a lot. And then when I became the head boy, yeah, that was really fun. Naughty days, yeah, not much. I never really had issues with the law. Yeah, no.
Maybe a box sticker?
Yeah, I'm always like trying to be, and also because my background finances was not good. So the only thing that some people know me for is that when other students don't like their food in the dining hall, that is a happy day for me. So I go to school without Gary. And the first few days, people have come from home with a lot of home chores, so they won't go for. I'll go and empty the Gary from like 5-6 tables and go and put it down. That's enough for the term, you know. That's what those kind of things I did.
Whilst in first year, were there some bullying and sort of?
Oh yes, a lot of bullying. I was bullied a lot. I remember. A senior would let you go on your knees and walk, and we crawl on your knees literally for a distance. And then when we receive girls in the school, like for any program, that's when the seniors want to show that they are real seniors.
Oh yes.
Yes, so they will say, you go and do this for me, come and do this for me. Oh, it wasn't fun at all.
You don't compete.
No.
You don't compete with them.
At all. So yes, those ones, there was a lot of bullying days. I remember our homos night. They taught us a very bad song. And it was a normal Catholic hymn. The hymn goes like this. see, I've even forgotten the actual words of the hymn, but they taught us to sing it this way. Oh, my girlfriend, I die for you. The condition is critical. The seniors are real seniors. Oh, my girlfriend, I die for you. So we learned how to sing this song, and we sang it for Homo's night. Then the Sunday, we went to church. Then the keyboardist starts and plays the same tune, and we're all looking at each other's face.
Which one should we sing?
Are they serious? Are we coming to sing this song here? So immediately the guy finished, we all shouted, oh my girlfriend. The father was like, stop. You know, but those were the days of Ninos.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see. But whilst at Pope John's,
Yeah.
what was your biggest challenge?
I think my biggest challenge was finances. So the whole period I was in school, I got a family person visiting only once.
For the 3
For the
how
3
many
years. Yes, for the 3 years.
Okay.
And so sometimes you feel down. I mean, you are at the point you are even school preferred, everybody's coming around, and you don't have family coming, you know. So that has a psychological effect a bit on you.
Yeah.
But my biggest challenge was always the fees for the next term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest challenge.
And provisions.
Yes, oh, provisions. For provisions, boys, you survive somehow. You know, other people bring it, you get some. And yes, I should be quick to add that some 3 women were very helpful to me in my life. The very first time I was going to secondary school, they filled up a provisions box for me. And occasionally they'll buy provisions for their daughters and then give some to me. Yeah. So those women really were helpful. One, Madam Agnes Dosu, she's still alive. She worked with the VRA, very helpful. Then the other passed away, unfortunately, Madam Irene Okain. She worked at Kolebu then. And I used to study with their daughters when we were in JSS. And then so when I was going to school, they shared my plight with their parents. So my trunk actually came from Madam Irene.
Okay.
I couldn't afford a trunk.
Your first
Yes.
year.
First, I couldn't afford a trunk. My chop box, people used to laugh at me because a friend made it for me and it looked like a coffin. It wasn't like a chop box, you know. So people laughed at me a lot, but I mean, that's how.
You were focused.
Yeah, I had to survive.
And so from Pope John's,
Yeah.
then straight to the medical school.
Yeah, so from Pope John, I had a choice of going to either KNUST to do medicine or Legon.
Okay.
The wisest decision at the time should have been to go to KNUST.
Why?
Because then the entry is direct.
Okay.
But something happened when I was in JSS. And I vowed to myself that I wanted to come to the medical school in Kolebu.
In Kolebu.
And what happened was that we used to go and clean people's rooms, wash for them for money, as part of my struggles. And one day we went, and a young lady medical student accused 3 of us that something had gotten missing, and she thought it was one of us. And she blasted us terribly.
Oh, goodness.
Like, I mean, words, unprintable words. Like,
Wow,
we can't study, we can't get here, you cannot get, and you are.
Goodness.
So that day when I left that place, I told myself I'll come back to this school.
For shege reasons.
For shege reasons. So when I had a choice to choose, I chose Legon. And I got to Legon, and then I was like, really, did I make the right decision? Because we're like over 600. And they're going to take only 65
Goodness.
to medical school. After 2 years of competition, they will select only 65. And here was I don't know anyone. I was like, what? Can this work? And my first few days in Legon was very depressing. I'll share a story with you. We had a practical session. And unfortunately for me, somehow, my close friends were all professors' children and senior people's children, but I didn't know.
Goodness.
So we sat in the table, and then the professor comes in. We're about 6 on the table, and we'll mention, what's your name? Then the person mentions, oh, it's your dad, Professor so and so. When you go, my regards to him.
Oh,
Next person, what's your name? Then they mention, oh, it's your dad, the professor at the maths department. My regards to him. What's your name? Oh, it's your dad, the professor in Lego and at the medical school. Then all the way around, and they get to me, what is your name? I mention, and the first question is, are you a Ghanaian? Aisha, that day,
Oh,
I
God.
was so depressed.
Oh, my God.
I was like, God, why couldn't my father just be even a cleaner in the medical school, so at least somebody would know him as well and ask, is your father the bus conductor or the cleaner or the security man at the medical school? And there I could just feel that I'm not getting this medical school, because I then started counting those I met at science and maths quiz who were there, then all these professors' children.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. So the first year, they told us it was non-scoring, but I didn't take it a joke. I scored all A's.
Wow.
First year, I got, 4.0 GPA.
Wow.
Second year, I tried to get the same thing. I faltered in one place with 1 B minus. I had 3.96 something.
Okay.
So I was like the top 5 when we were going for the interview.
Wow.
Out of the over 600. And then I had some confidence that I could make it to
I'm
this
sure the
medical
professor gingered you to actually study more.
And I felt really bad. So I've been very conscious of it. In fact, that day I told myself that one day, no one should ask my children this.
Yeah.
Are you a Ghanaian?
Yep.
When my children mention their name somewhere,
It
should ring a bell.
Yeah.
They say, it's your father, so, and so.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So I really was determined to do that.
To do that.
And I'm in the process.
One thing I forgot about your participation in the National Science and Maths quiz.
Yes.
It's really a big thing now. How was your experience?
It's very exciting. It's an honor for everybody to be there. I was selected as part of the squad. I was very happy about it. Unfortunately, before our very first contest, I was ill.
Oh.
So someone had to replace me.
Okay.
Fortunately, we won that contest. And then the second round, when we went, I was okay now, so I was put on the squad.
Yeah. And
I contested. We won. Then we went another round. I think that was like the quarterfinals or the semi-finals. And we lost to Infantipim.
Okay.
Boche. It was very painful, disheartening. But, you go back and you still feel proud that you were on that stage.
Yeah.
Those were the days that it was Professor Irama Adi.
Yeah.
That was the quiz mistress, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you received some awards.
Yes. The highlight of them is the National Debating Championship.
Okay.
When we won the 43rd Independence Anniversary Debate. It was nationwide for second cycle schools, and we met Opokuwari in the finals, and then we beat them to it. And my close friend Kojo Oponkoma and I represented our school. Okay. And it was a national award, so we're very happy. We're honored at the Independence anniversary event. The then Minister of Education, Honorable Ekospio Gabra, yes, he handed over our awards, to us. And then besides that, a few others. My work in the Medical Association, they also recognized me with a meritorious award, and then a few academic ones. But I think the best of all the awards, when I go into my closet, is the one that my kids gave me as the best dad. Yes. I think your station organized a super dad or something contest. Yes. And then my kids did a video and submitted, and we won. Oh, yes. Goodness. So after that, they did a plug and gave to me as a super dad. And then I think it's my most cherished.
You're the best dad in the world. But on the medical profession, I know there have been ups and downs.
Yeah.
How has the journey been so far?
It's been tough. Being in medical school itself has not been that easy. I had to always do aside jobs. So in medical school, I was teaching a lot of private schools to survive. So I was teaching at His Majesty Academy. I taught at Sporters Academy, Ideal College. So I had a little red motorbike that every break I would run and go and take lessons to make money to come back and teach. But gradually I finished medical school, got some credit in some of my courses. I never repeated any program. But in the midst of all that, my leadership skills were still telling. I was elected the president of the Medical Student Association, and then the vice president of the International Federation of Medical Students in Ghana. And then after graduation, worked as a house officer I became elected as the leader of the junior doctors group in Ghana.
Okay.
And that took me onto the National Council of the Medical Association.
Wow.
And then later, I joined the Greater Accra branch of the Medical Association, serving as the Assistant General Secretary, rose through to become the Substantive General Secretary, and then contested for a national election and was elected as the Deputy General Secretary. And then only last year, I was elected as the General Secretary. And then in terms of specialization, mentors have been very helpful for me. I've had some very good mentors who guided me. The late Professor Obed, like a father to me, and then currently Professor Samuel Nchiopong. These two mentors have been of huge help to me. So my specialization went really fast. Like, that's what I'm saying, God has a way of making you catch up. So in biomedical school, because I came to Legon with my SS2 results, I jumped several years. So by medical school, I was almost age mates with my mates.
Okay.
That's when I actually had parity in terms of age.
Okay.
And but when we finished medical school and started specialization, my mates, a lot of them are outside the country, a lot are in this country. I am perhaps one of the first few to be a fellow. Fellowship is a terminal qualification. To be a fellow of any college in the world. I think one lady became a fellow in a course called radiology, but this is just a 4-year course. But those of us who do 5-year, 6-year course, I was one of the first people to finish and become a fellow in my class anywhere in the world, those in the US, UK, and here.
Wow.
Yeah. So I became a consultant at a relatively younger age. Yeah, because I finished the program in about 5 years. Yeah, and then, I sacrificed an opportunity to do a PhD much earlier because I met my wife in medical school. She was like 2 years my junior. And how we met is another interesting story, but I'll leave it for another day.
I want to know. Just summarize it for me.
So I was campaigning to become president of the Medical Student Association, like an SRC president kind of.
Okay.
And she was very much opposed to me. She was on the opposite side.
I know, right?
And someone told me if I got her, she can win all the girls
Everything
over.
will be all right.
And I went around looking for her. I was going room to room to campaign, and I knocked on her door in Legon. And then she came up. And when I saw her, I forgot that I was there to campaign. One thing led to another, and then we fell in love, and then so we married some 4 or 5 years later when I was done with medical school. And she's a very brilliant doctor, maybe even more brilliant than I am. Yeah. So when we got on well.
But did you win that election?
Yes, I won.
Of course.
Yeah, so it was a double win for me. I won the election and won somebody's heart. Yes, yeah. And she's still since giving me 4 strong boys.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so,
and talking about these strong 4 boys.
Yeah.
Which among them is towing your line?
It's difficult to tell at their tender age, but the top 2, one is 11, and the other is 9. The one who is 11 says he wants to be a pilot. The one who is 9 says he wants to be a doctor.
Okay.
I'm observing them to see. I don't know, but I want to give them that liberty. But I'm sure at least one of them will become.
And the twins?
The twins, they are pretty young. They are just 2.
Okay.
Yeah, they are 2.
They are not showing signals of...
Oh, I think one of them... I mean, they are showing a lot of promise, but I'm not able to tell which way it will go. But I'm hopeful that some of them will toe our line. I'm trusting God that at least one, because the profession teaches us that we should teach the profession to our children.
Yeah.
So at least for every doctor, it's your hope and ambition that one of your kids will take up the profession. Yeah.
I must say that we are really, really proud of you, and we admire you a lot. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And keep saving lives. Of course, I am not surprised that you look very fit. What do you do to keep fit? Yeah,
so I work out a bit. I go cycling with my boys in the neighborhood where we have bike, all of us. I also swim.
Okay.
These days it's very difficult. When I was living in Kolebu campus, I had a lot of time to swim. Now it's very difficult. We also have a treadmill at home that we go on to keep fit. Yeah, and yeah, I think those are what I usually would do for fitness.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe we'll get to see you swimming.
Maybe some bit of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
of course, after a hard day's work, when you retire in your room, what do you do to relax? Do you listen to music?
Yes, but my kind of music is not what that I like hymns.
Oh.
Yes, I've been in the choir almost all my life.
Okay.
So now I'm no more, but I listen to music a lot. And if it's not hymns, it has to be reggae.
Okay.
I talked about it. They say to me, you don't believe it. I try to believe it. You're telling me a fool among fools. And I'm a slave. A slave. I'm a slave. Just a liquor slave. I'm a slave. A slave. I'm a slave. It's a liquor slave. Yeah. Ah. If this is not preaching, why else can it be? I've lost all.
I'm grateful that you opened up to us, and I have really learned a lot of lessons from your story. And I must say that keep saving lives. We admire you a lot. Keep up the good job. Viewers, thank you so much for watching. Same time next week, we'll be bringing you another interesting personality on PM Personality Profile. My beautiful dress was supplied by Karen Kane Stylist. Visit their showroom in Osu and Laboni, or call them on 0560052668 or 02683190555. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.